Okay, sorry, I keep getting interrupted. So now I'd like to talk about, so during the Collaborate Ultra session, somebody was saying, so big O is, you use big O when you're talking about worst case, and you use big omega when you're talking about best case. Now I've heard that before, and I don't know where it comes from, but forget it. It's not, don't think about it, never mention it to me again. So I mean, like, I have no problem with people mentioning it the first time. I'm just, whoever taught it to you did not do a good job on that. Okay, because the thing is, honestly, in this course, I am not going to talk about best case, or at least like a little bit accidentally, maybe, when I forget myself. But generally, best case is not an interesting thing. It's in the book. I mean, it's in analysis of algorithms because people, like, it's something you can define and blah, blah, blah. But generally, you don't care what the best case of your algorithm is. Because even the stupidest algorithm in the world is, well, not quite the stupidest, but like, you can have an incredibly bad algorithm and it's right sometimes. Like, it has to be a really bad algorithm to be right, to be wrong always. I mean, usually you can find some input on which your algorithm is good and fast and whatever. Or like some input, or maybe if it's randomized, it flips coins, it's particularly lucky. Like, it's just, who cares? The fact that you were right once is not going to stop you getting fired. It's not how often you're right, it's how often you're wrong. How infrequently you're wrong. So, so during the Collaborate Ultra session, I said, no, okay, so here, I'm gonna write this up here. So notice, I haven't really done anything, I just switched the inequality around, so this means that I'm saying at least instead of at most. Okay, so the thing I want to talk about is how you can, so when you use big O, you're saying at most, and when you're saying big omega, you're saying at least. And so if you say it's big O and it's big omega, then I know what it is. Up to a constant factor and for sufficiently large and blah, blah, blah. Why do we care? It's because it's satisfying knowing that you've found the answer, right? Somebody gives you a problem and says, how quickly can you solve this? Well, as computer scientists, we care about the difficulty of the problem. We want to say it takes, I mean, we don't want to be like, you say, oh, I can do it in n squared time, and your boss says, oh, that's okay, that's good enough, you can quit now, go home, and leave it, and n squared, yeah, maybe it's n to the, no, come on, when I was talking about Strasson's algorithm, I was like, yeah, it was like 3, and then it was 2.8, and then it was that, and now they shave like incredibly tiny amounts off that number, and they still care. So, we want to know how hard is the problem, or how fast is the algorithm. But actually, really, how hard is the problem is sort of a deeper question. So I'm going to give you a problem. Okay, the people who were in the tutorial, not the tutorial, the Collaborate Ultra session know the answer to this. But if I give you a matrix, and it's a 7, 8, 12, 15, 92. Okay, so let's put this and then this is 9, 17. 6, 15, 19, 37, 58, 151, 23, 32, 32, nope, that can't be 32. This has to be 37, and let's say that this is 58, and this is 271. Is this gonna run? So let's say that this is 45, and 45, and say 45, and 69, and 285. Okay? So, you have this grid. Now notice every row and every column is sorted. Okay? So, suppose I give you a number. For example, I give you the number 39. Okay? Or let's say 36. 36. Yeah, let's say 36. Okay. Or something like that. And I ask you, it doesn't matter, 36, whatever. I give you a number. Maybe it's in there, maybe it's not. And I ask you, can you find it? Right? So if I give you, now obviously if I give you a one-dimensional sorted array, how long does it take you to search in that? Well, if I give you a one-dimensional array and I say 36, well, what do? You binary search it. So it takes you logarithmic time. Okay? And I could actually show you a lower bound for that. So logarithmic time is the right answer. It takes, in the worst case, it takes O log n and omega log n. Okay? So, in this case, you've seen binary search, I assume. So in this case, how long does it take? So obviously this is, say that this is an n by n matrix, so asymptotically, well this is a particular matrix, but if I give you an n by n matrix with this property that all the rows are sorted and all the columns are sorted, then how long does it take you to check to see if there's a particular number in there? Well, obviously you can do it in order n squared, right? You just check everything. Okay? Now, let's think. Can you do it slightly better? Can you do it in n log n? Well, yes. You can just, for every row, you just treat it as a one-dimensional array and you binary search in the row, and that's going to take you log n time for each row, so it's going to be n log n. So the difficulty of this problem is order n squared, order n log n, okay? So these are at most, right? So it's it's simultaneously the complexity is order n squared, order n log n. What about linear? It's a bit trickier. So if I'm looking for 36, there is an algorithm. What you do is you walk along here until you find the border between, you walk along the top row until you find the border between something that's less than 36 and something that's more than 36. If you find 36, then you can just say, yes, here it is. Okay, and then you walk down, and then you say, okay, this is bigger, so I have to go this way, and then this is smaller, and then this is bigger, and then this one is smaller, and then this is still smaller, so I go down here, and then this is bigger and bigger. Right? And so what does that do? If we ignore this part up here, that splits the matrix into stuff which is smaller and stuff which is bigger. So if there were 36 in the matrix, it would have to be somewhere along that border. Okay? How long does it take you to find that border and check all the stuff along the border? Well, it takes you linear time. Okay? So the complexity is O of n as well. Now, it didn't say it's not smaller. So you would think, oh, but if I look, can't I do something like binary search? Can't I, look here, and that's 37, and everything below and to the right of 37 is bigger or equal. So I can cross off this whole quadrant. I don't have to look at that. So I've reduced the size, the number of things that I have to look at by a factor of 3/4. Oh, sorry, I've reduced it by a quarter. So can you do that recursively? Well, not so easily. Because, because now you know that this is smaller than this, but these, you don't know what the relationship is. So now you say, okay, well, what if I do that in each, I break it into 3 blocks, and then I do that recursively in each of these 3 blocks, and you think, okay, so each of these 3 blocks, I'm going to reduce it by a quarter, and then the remaining 3/4, I'm going to reduce each of those by a quarter, but it's going to take me three queries this time. And it feels like, maybe you can do something, and the answer is no. The reason for that, so this is where I said lower bounds are cool, because then you can think, if you stop at linear, and you just think, yeah, I can do it linear is okay, then you don't really, it sort of nags at you that maybe there's a better way. And you get to go home and relax and forget about this problem when you think, okay, what about an example where you have a bunch of 1s in the top left of the matrix, and then along the diagonal you have 2s, and down here you have 4s. So this is still an n by n matrix. So this is, sorry, okay, it's not great. I'm just filling this in really quickly. Okay, so this is again n by n. So you have lots and lots of 1s and lots of you have like half n squared 1s and about half n squared 4s and n 2s. Okay? So we'll start with that matrix. And then maybe, I'm going to I'll flip a coin. Or I'm going to say, maybe I'm going to erase one of these 2s, and I'm going to put a 3. And then I'm going to give you the matrix, and I'm going to ask you, is there a 3 in there? Now, you'd better check the whole diagonal. Because if I haven't put a 3 there, and it's all 2s, and you come back and you just check a few of them and you say no, then maybe the 3 was in one of those spots. Maybe I'd swapped it with one of the 2s that you didn't look at. Okay, so in order to say no with confidence, you have to check at least the diagonal. Okay? And then, if you do check the whole diagonal, then even if there's a 3 there, maybe it's in the last place you look. Okay? So, there is no algorithm that can say no always on all instances of n by n matrices that can say no in strictly less than, something. You can't do n over log n, you can't do log n, you can't do something which is asymptotically smaller than linear. So, how much time do you need? How many things do you need to look at? Well, now we know that in the worst case, for an n by n matrix like this, you have to check omega n things, omega n numbers. So that means now we know it's O of n, big O of n, and we know it's big omega of n. So So now we know the complexity to within a constant factor. Okay? It's at most about n. For sufficiently large n, it's at most about n up to a constant factor, and it's at least, for sufficiently large n, it's at least n times a constant factor. So okay, we can say, for the short form for saying it's big O and it's big omega is we say, when we have this, we say it is theta. Okay, so theta means it's in the intersection of the two sets, big O of f of n, and big omega, big O of f of n, big omega of f of n. It's in the intersection of those two sets, and we call that intersection theta. Okay? So there are just, I'm going on a bit too long about this, but the last part of this, the second part of lecture 3 will be shorter. Will be the master theorem. And I wish I got this out this morning, but okay. So I'm going to write theta g of n equals big O g of n intersect. And notice I was using omega and I was talking about worst case, because in the best case, any algorithm like that, I give it the matrix, the best case for the algorithm is it looks and it finds what it's looking for and it says yes, in constant time. Is that an interesting thing to talk about? No. Sometimes, I mean, for some problems, maybe the best case is an interesting thing to analyze. But usually no. Okay, so big O is upper bound, big omega is lower bound, and this theta is asymptotically a tight bound. Okay, so there are only two more things we're going to talk about, and usually, so what I've been emphasizing is why you would want to use these. Not like their mathematical properties, which you can learn about in the book and use in the practice, in the tutorial, online, Khan Academy, Coursera, whatever. I care that you know why we say these, why we have these, how you should use them properly, how people abuse them by saying things like, my algorithm is O, big O of n log n, your algorithm is big O of n squared, therefore my algorithm is faster. Okay, but I should get through two more, which, so big O, it's at most, but, you know, I would like to say, what if my algorithm does better, a lot better. So asymptotically, I use much less time than a certain thing. So I want to say that I don't know exactly how fast my algorithm is, maybe, but I would like to say I do know that it uses, its growth rate is smaller than linear. Okay? So it's like I ran it, and you know, it seemed that, you know, there's linear, or, you know, there's you know, the curve, but when you look at it, it's curving. I don't know what this function is, but it's not a straight line. I always concave. I always mix these two up. But you know, so it's curving. It's sloping down. Not sloping down, but its derivative is decreasing. Okay. So we have notation for this. So we say, so we say we want to talk about this set where it's h of n such that we want to say you know, well, for any constant, for any positive constant, for sufficiently large n, h of n, we're interested in things, in functions h of n, which, in comparison to g of n, for sufficiently large n, they're less than that constant times g of n. Right? So we want to say, so this gets for all c, and technically, okay, this is also c greater than 0. There exists an n0 such that for all n greater than n0, h of n is less than c times g of n. So that's starting to look maybe a little bit familiar. So you want to say, you know, whatever C you pick, you could say, oh, well, I choose 1 over 1,000. And I can say, okay, for a sufficiently large n, h of n is smaller than 1 over 1,000 times g of n. And then you can say, so, okay, you say 1 over 1,000,000. I can say, yeah, it doesn't matter. For a sufficiently large n, it's less than 1 over 1,000,000 times g of n. So you can express this is frequently expressed using calculus, right? Because this does look, if you listen to it, it sounds a bit like the epsilon delta ball stuff. You know, it's like for all for all epsilon there is a delta such that blah blah. So it's I mean not quite like that, but if you think of it, this is basically saying that the limit as n goes to infinity of h of n over g of n is 0. Okay? So I will check to make sure that I've actually got this exactly right, but if not, I will post a correction. It will be fixed in the scribe notes. So people frequently write this, but really, if you think about where does it come from, you want to say something. It's not like it's at most, and it can be like roughly the same as. You're like, no, it's less than asymptotically for any constant you pick. It's less than g of n times that constant. Okay, even for any small constant. Positive. So this has a name. So this is called little o of g of n. Okay? So this is a little o. And then the other one, surprise, surprise, is the flip side when you say, okay, I want to say that my stuff, somebody is super excited about their function, it grows so fast, and you say, yeah, well, how does it grow compared to this? And they say, asymptotically for sufficiently large, for any c you choose, the ratio of these two things is bigger than that c for sufficiently large n. Okay? So obviously let's say, okay, that's h of n such that for all c there exists an n0 such that for all n greater than n0 h of n is greater than c times g of n. Okay. And this one is called little omega. Sorry, I better draw it. So it looks like a W. It looks like a scripty W. Oh, I forgot to put the equals here. Okay, so these are how these things are defined, right? So, for example, 5n is in O of n. N is in little o of n log n. You can find lots of examples online. This is why we do this. And I probably run way over time for this half. Okay, so in the tutorial you'll see lots of practices. Actually, you may not have time to watch this video before the tutorial, but okay, now I have to tell you about the master theorem.